Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm gonna be testing a GeForce RTX 5090 in Mindseye, which we might as well call it Broken Eye. Anyway, this one is the Founders Edition model of the card. I'm running it with the latest Nvidia drivers, and I'm not manually overclocking it. You can see all of its specs right here in Tech Power-Ups GPU-Z, and you can see on the left that I'm pairing it with the Ryzen 7 9800X 3D and 32GB of DDR5. Let's get into it, shall we? Okay, let's go over the settings. First, I am starting at 4K resolution using DLAA right here, so it's still 100% resolution scale, no frame generation for now, and the epic settings, which are the recommended settings for this GPU. I mean, it makes sense. This is a $3,000 GPU, right? I just disabled depth of field, which looked pretty bad in this game, and motion blur, because I usually do that. So, let's go to the game now. I am playing a race here, because apparently you need to play the game for like 5 or 7 hours, something like that, for you to unlock the free roam mode, which is just the open world, you know. But over here we can actually take a look at the city and the NPCs in the city and drive around, and the awful stuttering. Look at that frame time graph. I mean, the fact that we're getting 98% GPU utilization, so it's GPU bound most of the time. Right now it's fluctuating a little bit, but with 40 FPS is already really bad, right, for the specs that we're utilizing. But the fact that it stutters so much, those 1% lows are at 25 for... Oh god. Yeah, that makes it unplayable, guys. On high-end specs at 4K epic settings. And I know, yes, it's 4K, it's extremely intensive. This is a UE5 title with all the bells and whistles. By the way, ray tracing doesn't even seem to be working properly, because I took a look at some reflections and I didn't see myself being reflected on another car early in a mission, you know. So I don't think RT is even being properly utilized once again. Yet we're seeing super low performance, especially in city areas. This is probably why it takes like 7 hours for you to be able to free roam in this game. Because if you went out in the open world right away, you'd see this insane stuttering issue and you'd refund the game instantly. However, even if you don't go to these races and stuff and you just keep on playing the game's missions, first of all, the unskippable cutscenes are a bit annoying, but I mean, it is what it is. The most annoying thing that I've seen during those cutscenes is the stuttering. Once again, I was playing at performance DLSS, okay, 4K resolution, so render resolution of 1080p and being upscaled to 4K, 60 FPS locked, because I locked it. I didn't want to spoil the beautiful performance that we're getting right now, so I just set it like that to get 60 FPS flat all of the time, or so I thought it would get 60 FPS flat over all of the time, because it didn't, guys. Most of the time it was getting 60 FPS, so not terrible. I mean, it is kind of terrible considering it's 50% resolution scale for a 5090, but still. But the main issue is it was still stuttering. Alright, with a locked 60 FPS, it was still stuttering in the middle of cutscenes sometimes, in the middle of the gameplay, in the missions, you know, which is just running around doing dumb stuff, honestly. Yeah, I still saw half a second stutter, like up to a second stuttering. So that's really terrible, honestly, and it wasn't as bad as what we're seeing right now, these insane frame times, which are just unplayable once again, but it was really unacceptable. And the fact that we're dropping into the 30s around this area is also unacceptable with an RTX 5090 9800X 3D system. Like, look at that. How did this pass the playtests? I don't know. This game should have been in the oven for another year for them to optimize it properly. Are we just gonna... Yes, we're gonna lose, of course. Because you can't really stay 30 seconds without hitting the next checkpoint, which is stupid. I mean, GTA killer, they said. Anyway, I want to go back to the settings menu here and try to make it a bit better. Let's try using some DLSS. It's in the display settings here. Okay, so let's use DLSS quality, which, I mean, it looks pretty much the same as native resolution. Performance DLSS still looked pretty good, aside from some of the reflections and shadows in this game. But quality DLSS usually looks pretty nice, of course. And look at that. Quality DLSS at 4K resolution with a 5090 is still a broken mess, dropping into the 50s. And with a ton of stuttering as well. So we saw lower GPU utilization sometimes, 80% right now from the 5090 there, probably hinting at a CPU bottle. Obviously, CPU shouldn't be an issue here in this title. It's just that the title sucks. Obviously, it's not optimized whatsoever. So this is the end result. It's terrible, my friends. Absolutely terrible. My God, I think this is the first time that I've seen the RTX 5090 with DLSS quality at 4K resolution being unplayable. Because we've seen other titles like Assassin's Creed Shadows, for example, which do drop into the 50s sometimes with an RTX 5090 at maximum settings, but that has ray tracing working, first of all. And second, if you enable DLSS, you actually get a really smooth experience, like 70 plus frames per second all of the time coming from 50 plus. Most of the time you'll get like 80s, 90s on average, I guess, in that game. And it also doesn't stutter at all. Just look at the frame time graph. We're still getting 25 FPS, 1% lows. 25. And this is just a race. I'm not doing free roam. Obviously, it's supposedly a city that's alive and stuff, and the NPCs are dynamic, like GTA, But still, this is a scripted event. I'm not sure if it's loading the middle of the city over there with those buildings and stuff. I don't know. I don't know. It's a scripted race that we're playing right here, yet it is the most stuttery mess that I've seen this year on PC. This is such ridiculousness. And I've seen a news article here today saying that the developer, the guy from Mindseye, he's very sad, he's heartbroken in how the game is doing. Did you really think that people were going to enjoy playing your game with a $5,000 PC or like $4,000 PC, which is the one that I'm using here, with this performance? And the worst part is they actually are using a shader compilation feature, guys. At the beginning of the game, you spend like 10 minutes compiling the shaders. For what? For this? What is the shader compilation even doing? Imagine if you didn't have the shader compilation feature. It would be even more stuttery. I need to calm down a little bit. I'm getting a little bit mad, guys, over here, okay? And usually that's bad for the heart. Oh boy, you guys asked for this. Anyway, let's do like performance DLSS in a last attempt with no frame generation to get 60 plus FPS all of the time with the RTX 5090, shall we? And with performance DLSS, GPU utilization still goes up to like 98%. Obviously, it fluctuates still a bit because of the insane amount of stuttering. It's never pegged at 98% unless you stop. I think maybe if you stop, yeah, then the frame time is flat, as you can see, and the GPU utilization is maxed out. But I mean, you gotta move, of course, unless you really like stills for some reason. We're in the middle of the city, by the way. This is really nice over here. I'm not complaining about the graphics. That's one thing that they did well, aside from like shadows sometimes with performance DLSS, as well as some of the reflections with performance DLSS. No, this looks very good. The city has a ton of NPCs and so on, but you can't really interact with it very well. From what I've seen, even in the free roam map or mode, you can't steal vehicles. That's what I read, at least. Okay, I haven't gotten there, so I don't know for sure. So I can't really complain about that. Let's do a race here during the daytime so you can see more reflections. Yeah, those reflections would definitely benefit a lot from ray reconstruction. My God, this is unplayable, guys. This is unplayable. Look at that frame time graph. It's absolutely awful. Now, as I mentioned, it was a little bit better when I locked the FPS to 60. So I'm going to try that out, okay? 60 FPS lock seems to improve things by a bit, okay? It still has those stuttering issues, of course, but it's definitely a lot smoother, as you can see. So I guess if you really need to play this game for some reason, I'm recommending you to avoid it, okay? Especially in this state right now. Avoid this game, okay? They said that they were gonna fix it. I'm looking forward to that, but for now, it is absolutely terrible. But if you must play it, lock your FPS. Because there's no reason to get those unstable frames per second that we were seeing before and put up with that stuttering mess. Still gonna happen, as you can see, from time to time. So I'm gonna go back to this race right here to check for stability compared to what we've seen previously, okay? And yeah, it gets better. However, again, you'll still see spikes here and there, especially if you crash and so on. Look at that. It's still unplayable. It's not because we have 60 FPS locked all of the time now that it's gonna be a good experience. No, it's still unplayable. It still stutters way too much. It's smooth for a few seconds, but then it just dies for some reason. It's really bad in stability, you know? Oh my gosh. Alright, anyway, I'm gonna stop it there, and this is a benchmark video, so I'm gonna unlock the FPS again. So over here, it wouldn't stutter too much, I guess, with the FPS cap, but it's not having those massive slowdowns yet. The frame time's still terrible, though. Let's see if frame generation helps with that frame time graph, because it usually does, alright? Especially whenever the FPS lock actually helps, frame gen usually helps as well. So let's do 2 times frame generation here over DLSS performance. I guess the baseline on performance in terms of FPS was pretty good to enable frame generation on top of. And right now, not too bad. I can definitely notice a big amount of input lag in this one. It's not like those other titles like Dune Awakening, for example, or Assassin's Creed Shadows, which actually did optimize the frame generation in their games, and the input lag is very minimal over here. Yeah, I can feel it. Even with 120, 140 FPS, I can feel the input lag. It's not off-putting, though. What's off-putting is the fact that it still is stuttering, even with frame generation enabled, so... yeah, let me try and lock it to 120 FPS with frame generation enabled as well. Let's see. That frame time is definitely a bit better, although now it's dropping from 120, so it's starting to stutter a lot more, and those instabilities are there, of course, and it's unacceptable. Once again, you spend so much money on a system like this, you know, a PC like this, top of the line, and then developers give you this. What kind of PCs are they using? I don't understand. How is this acceptable? Did you even play your own game, developers? What the hell? Like, seriously? Dude! And we're supposed to be getting more than 100-ish FPS, of course. If I unlock the FPS, it's in the 130s, 120s. So it's not a case of I am locking the FPS to 120, but we are getting 110, so it's the same thing. No. We're actually getting mostly 120s, 130s, and it still stutters like crazy. I could try like 100 FPS lock, for example. It never dropped from 100, oh my god, from 100 FPS previously. So maybe with 100, no, see that? It starts dropping instantly into the 80s and 90s. It stays at 100 a little bit more often than it did stay at 120, but it still drops. It still stutters like crazy. Damn it! When are developers gonna just leave this engine behind? This is terrible. Or when are they going to actually be able to utilize UE5 properly and optimize it? I really wish that The Witcher 3 runs well with no stuttering issues, because I'm gonna be very sad if it does. The move from CD Projekt Red from the Red engine to UE5 got me pretty mad, okay. After seeing the tech demo from The Witcher 4, I was like, I didn't see stuttering, so maybe they're onto something here. They're working with Epic closely, unlike other developers, of course, so maybe they can do it, but yeah, most developers can't do it. So, yeah, if you are playing at 4K resolution, I guess there's no way this is going to be playable on an RTX 5090 PC. How ridiculous is that? Alright, guys? You could do 4 times frame generation if you really wanted to, and that's gonna give you close to 200 FPS there, but it still stutters. Look at that. It still stops for half seconds sometimes. It's stupid. Like, you can't make this game playable. It's so broken. All of the reviews on Steam are on point, I guess. This deserves mostly negative reviews. It can't be played on the top-of-the-line PC, apparently, at least on Epic settings. Let's go with 640 by 480 resolution and see if it can actually run without stuttering, okay? Because I'm skipping 1440p, I'm skipping 1080p. If this still stutters here and it's unstable here still, I'll just call it a day, I guess. It's still with performance DLSS, which means that it's 240p actually being rendered and upscaled to 4K. Epic settings, I'm gonna lower those down to low in just a little bit, alright? Oh my, look at that. Look at that. This is 240p resolution. We can't achieve 100 frames per second at 240p with an RTX 5090 and 9800X 3D combo. And the GPU utilization somehow, with these graphics, is still at 80 to 90% most of the time. Right now it's dropping into the 70% range, but look at that, 90%, going over 90% GPU usage. How is this possible? Now, I get that you shouldn't get 1,000 more FPS from a resolution that it's 1,000 times lower than like 4K, for example. There are always going to be more limitations inside of the system, usually CPU bottlenecks, which I think is what we're seeing here. CPU can't handle it at more than 100 FPS or close to it, you know. Also, I forgot to count our FPS, but 1% lows are still going to be crap because, yes, it still stutters. A little bit smoother than it was previously, but it still stutters a lot. But yeah, with these graphics and these frame rates that we're seeing here, I thought the 5090 would be utilized at 10%, 15% maximum, not at 90% maximum or 93% maximum. I saw it going over to that number like once at least. So, ridiculous. Once again, this is freaking ridiculous, guys. All right. Now, let's try it. Since it still stutters using Epic settings. It got better, okay? Frame time wasn't as bad as before, but it still stuttered. Let's do low settings with 640 by 480 performance DLSS. Actually, let's go to ultra performance DLSS, which is 33% of the resolution here. And yeah, with this insanely low resolution and low settings, we're still seeing 70%, up to like 75%. Oh my god, GPU usage. All right, how is this possible? We're getting around the same FPS as The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered at 4K max settings. That's a well-optimized title, in my opinion, in 2025. But it also doesn't look that much better than the PS4 version, which came out a while ago, and, I mean, it runs on a PS4, right? So it's kind of insane, but it still looks really, really good, in my opinion, on max settings, that game. This one, however, yeah, this is what we get, guys. This is what we are being fed by these developers that can't optimize games in 2025, asking 60 euros for this game. What a robbery. And there could genuinely be a good game hidden in here, somewhere between the 10 minutes unskippable cutscenes and so on. There could be a good story. I don't know, because I haven't played for more than about an hour at this point, of the main story at least. But no one's gonna put up with this. Developers need to optimize their games if they want people to play their games, because this is just ridiculous. It's stuttering like crazy again. Every time you crash, basically, it has insane frame time spikes. Look at that. Look at that. I'm actually going to restart the game completely now. I Alt F4 out of the game, just to make sure the low settings are fully applied. Okay, here we are, 130s. Maybe the restart did do something to the FPS. It's getting like 10, 15 more FPS than previously before the restart happened at low settings, you know. But it's, I mean, apparently, as you can see, the huge stuttering issues and the drops, like 31 FPS, 1% lows at the moment, they're still gonna happen even with the absolute lowest settings and lowest resolution inside of this game. With a 5090, I'm speechless at this point. This is so ridiculous. This is so ridiculous to me. Now, I'm still gonna play it at 4K resolution with the lowest settings. I'm gonna use some DLAA here, so it's native 4K, which is an adequate resolution for a 5090, obviously. And with low settings, which in other games, it runs flawlessly, obviously, because it's a 5090 on low settings, right? Yet in this one, look at that. Low settings, my friends. It looks no better than a Need for Speed game from 15 years ago. I think Need for Speed 2012, which is probably the last one that I fully completed, 100% that game. That looks better than this does at the moment, and it would run flawlessly, obviously, on a 5090 without stuttering issues. And this still stutters. The fact that this is still stuttering is insane on low settings with these graphics, right? Yeah, it's 4K, whatever. But it's not like we're running out of VRAM or anything like that to warrant these insane fluctuations in the frame time graph. This is too broken. This is too broken, and I'm losing my mind a little bit. I'm still gonna do like performance DLSS, all right? Because some people say, yeah, 4K resolution, you should use performance DLSS. Well, there we go. Does it make it any better? Yeah, it's a little bit higher refresh rate experience, but it doesn't get away with the stutters, right? Like, look at that. It's awful. 38 FPS, 1% lows. Yep. Amazing, isn't it? Oh my god, dude. Let's do like... no, that's not it. I want to do 4 times frame generation from Nvidia. Let's go. 4 times FG, low settings. Still stuttering like crazy, as you saw there. As soon as we crashed, it started stuttering. This looks like a tech demo, honestly. On maximum settings, it looks really good with a densely packed city, with a lot of cars, a lot of NPCs and so on. But it runs so poorly that it looks like a tech demo for UE5. It doesn't look like a finished product, and this game shouldn't be on Steam in this state. This and 1,000 more games. But yeah. That's it, guys, for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Yes, I'm not testing 1440p or 1080p, but you saw that even 640 by 480 doesn't save this performance, or this game, I guess. It's obviously not a problem with the specs, right? Let me know if you are interested in seeing more of this crap. Honestly, I'm leaning towards just refunding the game, but I'll do whatever you guys want me to do. If you want me to test this with, like, a GT 1030, I will. If it even launches, that is. But let me know. Catch you in the next one. Love you all. Bye-bye.